Hi, my name is Maneesh Vijay from Pmbok, and I'm also a member of a lot of PMP groups. I've been a registered education provider for the last 13 years, and the good part is that I have been able to generate 20,000 certified professionals in 16 countries spread over 3 continents. So when I say a few things about PMP, it comes with a lot of experience and observations and understanding how people are studying what they're doing wrong. Now, yesterday I actually came across a very interesting post by somebody in one of the PMP groups, where people are trying to post their problems and want to understand how to solve it. This gentleman has attended a training session, an online training session from one of the most well-known people by name, right? There's no point taking anybody's name, but I was really shocked. The gentleman was actually asking, is it necessary to remember all the inputs, tools, and techniques and outputs of each and every of the 49 processes that make up PMBOK, the 6th edition? I couldn't understand why is he even asking something like this. And then he goes on to write that actually his mentor, or the person whose online session that he was attending, has actually asked him that you must remember all of these tools and techniques and inputs and outputs for each of these 49 processes. And he also told a technique about doing the same. He said, for example, project charter, develop project charter is 442. What does 442 means? Four inputs, four inputs, four tools and techniques, and two outputs. And it says you have to kind of remember like that for each of the 49 processes if you really want to clear the exams. And I was really, really disgusted. I'm sorry to use such a harsh language. It's disgusting how people are talking about learning tools and techniques. Let me tell you something very honestly. Point number one, this is not how you understand tools and techniques. That's not the purpose of tools and techniques. Yes, you might have to remember some of them, but that's not how you remember. I'll be telling you some of the techniques on my own, towards the end of this particular video. But the second portion is even more important. The second point is even more important. You hardly get any questions in the real exam which talks about what is the tool and technique of so-and-so, what is the input of so-and-so, and what is the output of so-and-so. It doesn't. What they do instead is give you a scenario. And when you look at a scenario of the question, you have to somehow very quickly find out what's happening, which knowledge area, which stage of the project, which process are they talking about, so that you can come to the right answer. In order to understand all those things, you need to be good at tools and techniques, or input outputs, or ITTOs as we call it. That's the only reason you need to be very good at it, right? So that is the reason why you really don't have to understand develop project manager 442. I'm sorry, it's ridiculous, not required. Okay, how do you really need to do it? Well, simple. For example, if I tell you, if the examination question is talking about breaking things down, like talking about breaking, work packages, or breaking work or deliverables into smaller pieces, it only means the word decomposition, or you see the word decomposition in the question. You need to understand that decomposition becomes a tool and technique of only two processes. Out of all 49 processes, decomposition is a tool and technique of only two processes. That's it. And which are those? Well, create WBS and define activities. So if the question is basically talking about decomposition, it has to be talking either about creation of the WBS, or it's talking about finding all possible activities. Now, how would you know the difference? Well, if the scenario is talking about breaking down deliverables, finding all the work that needs to be done, they're talking about WBS. Or creating the baseline, they're talking about WBS. But if they're talking about taking the work packages, working with your SMEs, and trying to find out all possible activities, that's define activities. Let me give you another example. If the examination question talks about inspection. All right, all you need to remember is inspection is a tool and technique of only 3 processes. That's it. Out of all 49 processes, it becomes a tool and technique of only 3. Which are those? Well, control quality, validate scope, and control procurement. I'm pretty sure you understand why it's there in control quality, why it's there in validate scope. But why is it there in control procurement? That's because the closure of a procurement happens in the process called control procurement. Therefore, it also means that the client would actually check the product before accepting and closing the procurement, and that can only happen after a physical inspection, and therefore control procurement also has a tool and technique called inspection. If you learn it this way, you don't have to mug up anything. Absolutely not. So I'm really horrified why people are being told to mug up like this. It's defeating the whole purpose. You are not in class 10, you're not in school. This is not how you do project management. I'm sorry, but anybody who tells you to, mug up stuff like this, it's absolute BS. You should not fall for that trap. You're unnecessarily putting yourself in a lot of stress. Yeah. I have written a book, but this is not about promoting a book on ITTOs or some of the, an audio platform that I have. But I'm just trying to tell you that is not how you do tools and techniques, inputs and outputs. Look for patterns. There's so many patterns around, right? So that is how you need to understand the ITTOs. I hope I've tried to make it very clear for you and prevented you from falling into a very pathetic trap of trying to mug up everything. That's not how it works. It's just going to put unnecessary pressure on you, and it will generate a lot of mistakes on your side. Don't do that. All right, guys, prepare well, do well, understand the subject, and ace the PMP exams. Best luck, guys. Take care.